been in Toastmasters for over 24 years, and it has been an invaluable experience for me. I used to be a teacher, so you would think I would be comfortable speaking in front of people. Yes, I was comfortable speaking with certain groups, but not all groups. I was never a very outspoken person, and one thing that helped me from Toastmasters was letting me express myself more and be more outspoken. And the first time I was aware of this was when I turned to my good friend and I said, Jim, why did you sign my name to your Christmas card? And why did you put that information that you put in the Christmas card in it? I didn't give you permission. And after I said that to him, I thought, Lynn, did you say that? Is that the same Lynn I know? Thank you, Toastmasters. And another example where Toastmasters helped me, I had a part-time job and I would have different assignments. And the one assignment was, you are going to attend a conference. And your job is to speak to the attendees during intermission. And I thought, what do I have in common with the attendees? And then I thought, you're a Toastmaster. You can talk about anything. And there's always Toastmasters to talk about. How else has Toastmasters helped me? Toastmasters has helped me to not look like a darn fool in front of an audience. Because in Toastmasters, you learn to pause, not to get upset if you have to speak in front of a group. You just try to calm yourself and start talking. How did I become involved in starting a club? I enjoyed Toastmasters so much. After I was in it for 2 years, I thought, I want to start a club. So the first thing I thought was, I think I should get some experience being an area governor. Now it's called area director. So I became an area governor at the time, and I learned a lot from that experience. I had a lot of enthusiasm inside of myself because I enjoy Toastmasters so much. And I started a club at Sprint in 2006, I believe. It was a lot of work. I remember posting flyers on multiple floors of our buildings on the weekend when the air conditioner wasn't on. It was hot and hard work. But I did it because I was very committed to getting that club started. And the rewards were so tremendous because everyone in that club except me was new to Toastmasters. And I could see each member improving his or her speaking skills, leadership skills. And that was very beneficial to me. And I had a very good friend, Vicki Kinsman, who also helped me start that club. And at the last minute, I remember the district wanted me to start the club before July 1st. And I called Vicki. I said, Vicki, we're not going to make it. It's the end of June now. I'm not going to be ready. And she said, Lynn, there's a FedEx office right down the street from you. Get over there before 6 p.m. And with Vicki's encouragement, I hightailed it to the FedEx office and mailed it in the paperwork, and we chartered our club in time.
Maya, you're at a Toastmaster conference.
Yes, Sabrina.
I haven't met you until today, but as Toastmasters, you become friends and considered family very quickly. Now that I know you're a Toastmaster, I'm interested in learning, why did you become a Toastmaster?
That's a great question. So I was introduced to Toastmaster in 2016. I was still young and naive, and I have to admit, I wanted to just live my life. So I was on and off with the club that my friend introduced me to. I was like, no, I'm not paying a membership for that. So when they invited me to attend club meeting, I would go if I'm not paying for it. And then 10 years later, when I found myself living in the States, because when I was introduced first to Toastmaster, I was living in Qatar. And then now I'm here. Same reason like everyone else. We look for a community. We look to improve. And I had the opportunity to work in a leadership position. Now it's time to work on myself. 10 years later, I found out I regret that I didn't join Toastmaster earlier. I was like, okay, so I just logged into Meetup and I was like, okay, I will attend a club for free. And I was browsing the clubs until I found my club, which is great. They are encouraging. What I love the most about them that they always push me away from my comfort zone. My first role was an evaluator. I haven't given my icebreaker. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just signed up. I had received a message, would you like to evaluate my speech? And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. I'll try. And then I received the feedback. That was incredible. Are you sure this is your first evaluation? I was like, yes. And then, do you want to sign up for a table topic? I was like, yeah. Have you given your speech yet? I was like, no. It was like, so it's time to give your speech. And since then, I am just challenging myself, going with the flow, making a great connection with people just like yourself that we just met today. And that's what Toastmaster is for. Making friends, making a genuine connection, being inspired by others. And also, wanting to invest in yourself. I drive almost 40 minutes to go to the club that I'm a member with, while I have other clubs that's 10 to 15 minutes from me. But if I'm not willing to put the effort of driving, going there, then I will be doing it at my convenience. So stay committed and do the things that will help you to improve.
Thank you, Maya. As a fellow yes woman, they say growth happens outside of your comfort zone. And
That's
I think
true.
that is a takeaway all of us Toastmasters would agree. As soon as you step out of that comfort zone, that's when the real growth begins.
First heard about Toastmasters in high school, but I was too stubborn to join. Luckily, once I graduated and started working at Micron Technology, I was always getting encouraged and pushed by my dad to expand on my leadership development, mainly with the way I present myself, with my vocal variety, presentation, etc. So I took the advantage of joining the Micron Technology Virginia Toastmasters Club. Not only because my membership was covered, but I saw it was a great way to interact with more people in the workplace, and I was able to meet some great mentors and also help others to, encourage them to join, because that's what a leader is at the end of the day. And for me, I gave my first icebreaker speech about 3 months after joining, and 5 to 6 months after that, there were nominations, and I was nominated as president of the club, which threw me for a curveball because I was like, I haven't been here for a year yet, but it's been a really rewarding journey, being here today and even having the opportunity to be MC for this year's District 29 annual conference has been nothing but great for me with my personal and professional growth. One thing that was brought up during the keynote speech this morning, as well as the workshop I was just in, is being more effective with providing feedback. That's something that's definitely been helpful, because I will say in high school and college, I was a bit harsh when it came to giving people feedback. I was just giving the raw truth, but there's layers to how to properly not only let them know what they might have missed the mark on, but also providing encouragement and other feedback. So I think that's one thing that's definitely helped me, because giving people feedback goes beyond just Toastmasters. If you're a project manager or a manager in general, you want to make sure everybody's on board and improving the right way. And also it can help in your personal life too, in case you want to give someone feedback if they did something wrong or out of line. You want to make sure you're addressing the issue the proper way instead of just lashing out and whatnot. So yeah, that's the one hidden gem. And this is my first conference, so definitely a good gem to see, and I see it as a common trend.
I was sent to Toastmasters, but I stayed because I found a community that is unique in a way that I never imagined. I have been able to work in projects with different members from different clubs that have different professions. At work, usually you have your own team with similar careers, similar way of thinking, but when you have the opportunity to expose yourself to different type of careers or disciplines all together, you grow, you learn new ways of thinking, processing information, getting many techniques, and not also that, you get friends. You get people that are there to make you better, to help you out through that path when you can improve and make your life better. And that's what I stay. The networking, the community, and the friends.
Hello, I'm Stephen Stoiber. This month marks my 20th anniversary with Toastmasters International. The reason I originally joined Toastmasters because I had failed horribly with the oral interview with the Department of State. After that interview, the folks they recommended that I join Toastmasters. I found the Toastmasters Club. It was small, but I could see right away the impact it was going to make. I was reluctant to give speeches. I was reluctant to do table topics. It was horrible. But once I got comfortable doing it, it changed my life. Eventually, I went back and did another oral interview with Department of State, and I passed it and became a member, and since then have been part of the Department of State. But also it helped me with school. One of the projects in Toastmasters is get to the point. My brain goes all over the place sometimes, but it helped me focus on just delivering 3 key things at any point, be it in my coursework, be it at work, be it wherever, versus just going all over the map, staying focused on those 3 things. My life has changed considerably. I have been posted overseas. I've been asked, and I have delivered as the MC at Embassy 4th of July events. I have participated in Thailand as the announcer for swim meets. And boy, that was tough announcing those Thai names. But all these things came about because of Toastmasters. I would have never had any of these opportunities. And then on top of that, the leadership that comes with it. At first you learn how to speak, but then you're asked to take leadership roles, and you're able to put those and apply them both at work and at home. It's changed my life, and I thank Toastmasters each and every day for giving me the opportunity to be a better me.
When I first came to Toastmasters, I arrived as a guest, and that's something that many clubs encourage you to do. Show up as a guest first. Make sure it works for your schedule. Make sure that you do a vibe check and you enjoy the particular club's vibe and flair. You may ask yourself, is Toastmasters for me? What can I learn from Toastmasters, and what can I bring to the club? And I encourage you to join and find out. We are all learning, and we're all on our own Toastmaster journey. And together, you really discover parts about you that you wouldn't otherwise know. And it's really incredible to go through that self-reflection experience along with others. Everything is self-paced. Toastmasters have a plethora of resources online through Pathways, but you can go through them at your own pace. Now, of course, the more you put in, the more you get out. And so if you are finding yourself having a lot of free time and you want to invest in yourself more, continue deeper into Toastmasters Pathways. If you need to take a step back, maybe still attend the meetings that you can and serve as an evaluator or table topics master. But again, the more you put in, the more you get out. and the further you can go on your Toastmaster journey through self-reflection and self-development. Another thing that I would like to share with Toastmasters is that you do have something to bring to the club and other members. You do not have to be the best speaker in the room. In fact, chances are you're not going to be. But everyone has something that they can bring to the table and offer to other club members. I learn from you, and you learn from me, and together we can grow forward.
The one leadership role that changed me the most has to be the one that I was asked to serve. When I first joined Toastmasters, all I wanted to do was to be able to answer a table topic question. Because when at work, I was asked to participate and I couldn't answer a question. I was always the last one to answer out of the 12. And I waited and I waited. 1 year after I joined Toastmasters, I volunteered to be the VP of Public Relations. That gave me enough confidence that somehow, by the end of the first year, someone asked me, "Hey, what about club president?" And I said, "Are you kidding me? Why would somebody ask me to be a club president? I don't know anything about the club. I don't know enough to lead other people or to teach anybody anything else while I was still learning." It changed me because when the club president at that time asked me, "Would you serve?" And I thought, well, let me think about this for 3 days. I decided if I have something to do with the club as a leader, I would have to have a vision first. If I don't have a vision, I would not serve. I figured out in 3 days what I was going to do for the club that I would contribute so that I would make the club better. I started making a lot of improvements. I was going to school at the time, and I put everything from my graduate program into my club. Basically, it was 2-in-1. Everything I did for the club, I wrote it into essays and turned it into schoolwork, and that got graded on. And everything I learned about organizational development and change management, I poured into the club. Within 7 months, my club met all 10 goals, and at the end of January, we were 10 for 10.
I have always enjoyed speaking, hearing good speakers, because there's so much power in what we have to say. I was never really afraid to speak in public, but when I heard about Toastmasters, I knew that it would be my opportunity to become a better speaker. And not only become a better speaker, I learned about the leadership aspect of it as well. If anyone were to ask me today about Toastmasters and what it is, I would say to them, join. It is such a worthwhile investment of your time and energy into yourself. By nature, I am an introvert. And a lot of people are introverts, but introverts aren't necessarily the people who shrink back from talking and from speaking. But by using Toastmasters and the paths and the tools, you can become a better speaker. You will become a better speaker if that is your intent. When you think about public speaking, their hands get sweaty, they start sweating profusely, their mouth is dry, they can't do anything. But I will guarantee you, if you would spend time and energy in Toastmasters, you will become a better speaker. You will become a better leader. You will find your inner voice, which is exactly what Toastmasters did for me. There are times in meetings when you are called on and you may not have that answer, and you really want to not have that deer in the headlight look. You really want to be able to take a pause and answer the question. Pausing gives you an opportunity to collect your thoughts, and then you can go ahead and respond. It is so much fun.
When I first started in Toastmasters, I wasn't so worried about whether or not I could speak. What I was worried about was my hands shaking and my face turning bright red, and I got really, really fast anytime I had to stand up in public. I looked kind of like a cherry tomato and spoke so fast that nobody understood what I was saying. My other issue was that when I started to speak, I would just continue, and I would go on and on and on. I stepped into Toastmasters thinking, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to learn to stand up here in front of somebody else and not shake quite so much. What I found after doing it for a while was not so much that I worried about shaking, but it was taking all of those butterflies that were all over the place and putting them in formation. Taking my nerves and saying, it's okay, I'll just be excited. I'll be enthused. It's going to use it and take care of it in my energy and actions. The other part of it that I figured out was I don't stand up in front of people and talk too often, not in presentation-wise. But I do stand up and answer things like, how's your project going? What's the status for that? Or do you just have a question that I need to answer today? And I need to take charge of this meeting. All of these items I practiced in Toastmasters. The first time that my boss asked me a question like, how is your project going? I went on and on and on. And I think 5 minutes before I sat down, and he didn't know what I said, and I didn't know what I said, and nobody was going to ask me it again. After being in Toastmasters for a while, when he asked me for a status update, I gave him a very quick, hey, here's the project status. Here's a couple of major points that I want to tell you about. And here's how I can use your help when we're done. Both of us stared in silence at each other with, did you really just say that like that? Toastmasters must have really helped you. What it did was allow me to settle my mind and organize my thoughts. And I continued to do that.
I joined Toastmasters because I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I gravitated immediately to giving speeches. Any opportunity there was to give a speech, I gave it. And I even competed in the contests. And in the first contest that I competed in the International Speech Contest, I lost in the division contest, and I was so devastated. And someone came up to me afterwards, a district leader, and said, Wilson, I want you to be an area governor. There was governors back then, it's now area director. And that was the start of my leadership journey in Toastmasters. It actually led to me becoming a sales manager at my job. And then ultimately, from that experience, I became a sales trainer. My dream job, being a sales facilitator and sales effectiveness program manager. I loved it, and I continue doing that work today. The other thing that I got out of Toastmasters that I wasn't expecting was the friendships and the family. Today is a somewhat sad day. We're saying goodbye to District 29, and I remember being a part of Toastmasters when it was District 27. So I was here when it started, and I'm here when it's coming to a conclusion. But the nice thing to know about us is that we're not going away. We're joining a new district with new experiences and new journeys. I'm now in retirement, but one thing I can say I will never retire from, and that's being a Toastmaster.
When I do a keynote, what my hope is, what my goal is that people think about something differently. And really what I want them to do is think more critically about the issues that they're facing. So for example, last night I talked about work-life balance, and I introduced the concept of life harmony. And the question for that one really is, how do I organize my life in a way that makes sense for me? Earlier today I talked about my experience from losing an election to winning an election. And the question I think for this is, who are you? And that's something important. And are you showing who you are to the world? Because as I was moving through my Toastmasters career, for the first part of it, when I was on this leadership journey, I didn't feel different. You know, people would say, "Oh, Matt, you're so different." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still the same person," but I was showing something different. But I remember very clearly one time, we were discussing something, and I responded. And when I responded, I immediately went, "Oh, wait a second, I'm very different. I'm looking at this issue differently now." And I think that's really the goal, is that as you examine yourself, as you reflect on who you are and who you want to be, I think the question for a leader is, who do you need to be to accomplish the mission of the group? And I think that's really what I would encourage you to think about. I had to decide, as I was going international president, what does the role need? Who do I need to be in order to be successful in that role? And that became much more important to me than getting the role. But I wanted to be the president that Toastmasters needed for that time.
I don't know that there's a answer to who is Toastmasters for. I would say, who is it not for? It is for everybody. There is something that you will learn. When I started, it was just, I'm going to stand up and do public speaking. What I finished, and now at this point, it's I'm going to do senior leadership. I started in basic leadership. I started in just being a club member, and then a club leadership, and then area and division. And now I'm doing district leadership over 1,400 people. So even when I thought it's just about learning to speak a little bit better, it wasn't. It was learning to speak a little bit better in this situation, and then adding it and learning to speak in this situation. Because every time we change something in life, we change our situation, and we have to practice and learn that skill in that environment. So in leadership, each piece makes me skittish. Each piece makes my skin a little nervous. But each piece tells me I can do this because I've practiced and I've learned, and I'm going to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to practice again. So it isn't that it's who it's for. It is for everybody because everybody has something that they want to continue to learn and grow from.
Toastmasters is for anyone who wishes to get out into the world. If you have a message, if you speak in front of anyone, any type on your job, any type of organization that you deal with, it's for anyone. And at any level within a company or within an organization, because your words have power and you want to come through and come across with authority. You want to be comfortable, you want to be confident. And again, as I said, if you are willing to put in the time and the energy, then Toastmasters is for you, it's for me, it's for each and every one of us.